Good morning, fellow Kenyans, on this cold Nairobi morning. Thursday, a week after President Ruto dissolved his cabinet. The question is in the air is, who is going to make it to the next cabinet? But perhaps much more seriously, who should not make it to the next cabinet? Preliminary observations. Dissolving cabinet was one way of making a statement to the effect that I, being the president, do understand that we are in a serious situation in the country. And you send a message through that action. That message was well received, but some doubt is still lingering. Normally, when a president dissolves his cabinet, he gives a clear timeline. The president did not do that, raising doubt as to whether he's sincere about the moves he's making. Already people are saying any delay in naming cabinet will not be welcome. That aside, who should make it and who should not make it? Today, I offer my advice to the President of the Republic of Kenya. First, by observing that measures you take, anything you do, and indeed the things you ought to do, must all be seen within the context of solving the problems we face in this country, particularly in trying to mitigate the crisis. So how do you go about the next cabinet formation? There are three things the president ought to bear in mind while forming the next cabinet. Number one, very important, Mr. President, do not go back to the cabinet you dissolved. Not even for one name. Going back to the cabinet you dissolved to pick any name is tantamount to erasing the good that came with the dissolution of cabinet. People are raising issues, legal issues, Article 152 or thereabouts, that the president may dismiss. And people are saying in the HR lingo, to dismiss somebody means that person is disgraced. So even from that perspective, I've been following the argument from lawyers, Harvey and the Grand Mullah, and I support that argument. When you dismiss people, they are not people you will bring back. And the country is telling you, Mr. President, that you cannot bring these people back. To bring anybody from cabinet is to render the action of dissolution irrelevant. That there was no purpose, there was no reason for dissolving the cabinet. And yet the dissolution itself, that act, served to lower the political temperatures to very convincing levels. Why would you want to reverse that by bringing somebody from the old cabinet? Let's look at it. Is there somebody in this cabinet whom you would be compelled, if you are the president, to bring back? Is there a Matiang'i in this cabinet? Would you bring back Machogu? If you put Matiang'i here and put Machogu here, because you wanted a Kisi, is there any comparison? They are both Kisis, but that's where it ends, and they are perhaps good people. If you juxtaposed Matiang'i with Kindiki, What are you talking about? These are good Kenyans. They are educated, university professors. But that's where it ends again. There's absolutely no comparison. So you are not compelled. Even if you talk about health and you take Mutahi Kagwe and look at his management of the corona period, you can get it. And then juxtapose with Nakumicha. Where is the compulsion to bring her back? If you put Peter Munya here and put my friend Linturi here, you can go on and on. There basically isn't a person in the cabinet. And the guys I've mentioned in Uhuru's cabinet, I'm not saying they were the best. I had my own reservations about Matiang'i carrying around his weight with his arrogance. But at least every Kenyan would accept when Matiang'i was in education, something was seen. When Magoha was in education, we could see something. I didn't agree with a lot of the things Magoha was doing, especially harassing junior teachers while sparing the big principals. I didn't like it. But at least what Magoha did, you can't compare Magoha to Machogu. Absolutely no comparison. So where is that compelling force that there's somebody in the cabinet you must go to? Mr. President, by going back to the old cabinet, even if you have a friend there, you will offend the Kenyan people. And I'm speaking for them. Oftentimes, I know what's going on in this country. Mr. President, to go back to the dissolved cabinet is to go back to your vomit. We vomit when we are sick. Don't go back there. My advice to you. The second thing, when you pick your cabinet, Your Excellency, avoid politicians. I do not for a moment believe in the nonsense that cabinet should be made up of technocrats who are not politicians. We are borrowing from America, and yet America appoints politicians. John Kerry was Secretary of State, having almost won the US election. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, and many others, people who contested against presidents, later come and are given positions. That neurosurgeon, what is his name? Carson was given a job by Trump, I think. So politicians do jobs. What happens is there is a layer of technocrats below the politicians, below the position of principal secretary, below the cabinet secretary, then the principal secretary, the people immediately below, the undersecretaries and senior assistant secretaries and assistant secretaries. That is the engine of the public service. Those are the people you don't touch, and they remain there even as presidents or prime ministers come and go. So I don't buy for a moment the thinking that a CS ought not to be a politician. But what am I saying? I'm saying the politicians in this country are terribly tainted. Terribly tainted. So that to get a politician who can meet the favor of Kenyans will be very difficult. Mr. President, in appointing your next cabinet, avoid politicians. You could get one. If you get one, because I haven't exhausted looking at them. If there is one, please go ahead and get it. But my advice to the President of the Republic of Kenya, avoid politicians. Because people are waiting to see who makes it to cabinet. Finally, and critically important, do not appoint individuals because they have been brought by Raila Odinga. I have nothing against Raila Odinga. He's a good gentleman. He's done so much for this country. He's a man I respect and admire a lot. But the mood in the country, and this has been demonstrated, the mood in the country is against politicians ganging up together. Any attempt Raila has made to work with Ruto has been met with a lot of condemnation. That's why the dialogue that was supposed to have kicked off this Monday has not done so. I urge the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency President William Samoei Ruto, do not be seen to be forming cabinet, the so-called broad-based cabinet. You can have a broad-based cabinet that does not involve Raila Odinga. And these are not just mere threats, if somebody may think I'm threatening anybody. I'm saying the truth. The danger in working with Ruto in these dangerous times, in these revolutionary moments, Raila himself is a school gentleman. He knows revolutions and how they have worked. He knows the power of perception. We all have followed the French Revolution and other revolutions. Traitors are number one on the list of people targeted during a revolution. Do not be seen to be betraying. Do not be seen to be a traitor. Any dalliance between Ruto and Raila introduces the idea of betrayal. And remember, I am saying it's a level of perception. It need not be the reality. So the President of the Republic of Kenya, while constituting his new cabinet, which he, by the way, he should as soon as yesterday, you should not, Mr. President, be seen to be working on that cabinet with Raila Odinga. And let me give you the reason. First, we have all noticed the mood is against the dalliance between the two of you. But more importantly, do not create the perception in the country that the politicians have finally decided to be on one side to fight the people of the Republic of Kenya. Let it not appear that politicians have ganged up against the people. And sadly, that is the perception that you'll be creating and building if in the so-called broad-based government you incorporate Raila in that government, Your Excellency. The people will say, okay, fine. You've decided to go on one side, and the people on one side. Your guess is as good as mine. When there is conflict, which side will prevail? Your guess is as good as mine. Remember, it's a known fact by historians, political scientists, psychologists, sociologists, that society is stronger than the state. Always. What society does is to submit itself to the state. But when you get to a point when that submission is no longer tenable, then you create a state of anarchy. No country has ever survived that state of anarchy. Even where revolutions bring benefits. If you take a study of the losses, of the suffering, of the misery, of the pain that people have had to endure during the revolution, sometimes it makes whatever benefit the revolution brought pale in importance. And therefore it is always advisable for us as Kenyans, as leaders, and any other people in the world to do something when it is within our reach. To save country from horrible moments that we may help to create through omissions and commissions. In this particular instance, and I must end by repeating, the President of the Republic of Kenya, in constituting his cabinet, should never for a moment think of even one woman or one man from the dissolved cabinet. That's going back to your vomit. And that's how the country will see it. And that's how the move to dissolve cabinet becomes irrelevant. You erase all the goods. Secondly, people are looking forward to getting a cabinet of capable, competent men and women of strong character. You are unlikely to get that from the crop of politicians we have in this country. Avoid politicians. Finally, keep your friendship, Your Excellency, with Raila Odinga. Seek his counsel. He's an intelligent man. He knows many things about this country. He can help you navigate through the troubled waters. But let it not be seen you are forming government with him. My advice to you, born out of my understanding of the situation and my love for this country,